Well, as we start to come on the air, there are no new cases in the state nor in the county. Tests, we're up to 7% now, and we're still over 600,000 tests taken with over 46,000 positive tests. Hospitalizations, over 13,000 since the 4th, with over 1,600 people in ICU. Vaccination rates, well, since the 5th, 17.2% have at least one dose, 21.2%, and 17.8% have been fully vaccinated, which is 61.5%. In the U.S., 578 million doses have been given, 220 fully vaccinated, 66.8% of the population has been fully vaccinated. Total cases, 6.7 million cases, 88,000 deaths, 46.8 million total doses given, with 17.8 million fully vaccinated. Worldwide, total doses, 11.6 million, 6.8 million new doses, and 4.6 million people worldwide have been fully vaccinated. 64% of the world is fully vaccinated. How about our local schools? Well, the new school year is about to end, so let's find out. The 6. There's one. We're seeing a pattern here. One intermediate staff, one intermediate student, and an elementary student. We're seeing a pattern here, which is possibly like one of the good things I've ever seen before in my years of covering COVID. But there has been new developments in COVID lately, and that's concerning a lot of things. I mean, it's like choosing which vaccine to get. The now Pfizer, no, not Pfizer. After Johnson and Johnson decided to postpone it because of all the tests. But now the FDA is trying to get approval of the third booster. Give me a COVID vaccine. And the CDC post spread hepatitis is just for children. It's not it is. It's like COVID cases are spiking nationwide. In Los Angeles, it's like 200% from the last month. But more needs to be done. We have to make sure we're taking this very seriously. I take this very seriously. I take COVID very seriously. I mean, just today, when I went to work, I didn't have a mask with me. I thought I was gonna be okay, but really, I tasted, I ate. My taste buds were not gone. My sense of smell wasn't gone. I was okay. You know what that means? I'm fully vaccinated, but I still have a chance of spreading it. So I still got a chance of getting it, not spreading it, just getting it. So if you come in between a vaccinated and unvaccinated person, like I said, you need to take extra precautions when it comes to this. Bring a mask with you and bring disinfectant wipes with you. You don't have to bring like the whole container. You just have to bring in. You really don't have to bring in like a whole container. You just need to make sure you have enough to make sure you can disinfect your area. And when you leave your area, just wipe it down, so that way the next person's using it. I think I'm taking this too seriously, but the cases of COVID is just rising up because nobody's taking extra precautions. I'm always taking precautions, like I've always said, because no one cares. And you guys need to start caring right now, because if you watch the show, you get COVID, and one day you're going to look back at me and say, he's right. I should have listened to this guy when I had the chance. And now you know. Now you know. Until that time comes, you need to understand these tips and start taking them very seriously. If you don't start taking them very seriously, it just shows you don't care. Masks, very important. If you don't wear the mask properly, you could catch it. Social distance, 6 feet. Hand washing, the sanitization of hands. Lysol helps. You get disinfectant wipes, it's good. If you're traveling, if you're not vaccinated, you need to wear a mask and start practicing social distance. If you are vaccinated, you're in an optionary zone. Fully vaccinated. If you're partially vaccinated, then what you need to do is to make sure you still follow those protocols. If you're under 2, there's no masks. If you're quarantined, do not leave the house. Stay 5 days. After the 5th day, get tested again. If you test negative, you're good to go. If not, it's another 5 days for you. If you have a medical condition, you are exempt from wearing a mask. If you're in a 2, there's no mask. Let's try and understand this. Alright, let's take a break here. Coming next, the high school prom ends early after a racial slur yell. We'll tell you what happened. Then, a student, this made me sick. This made me sick. A student attacked an assistant principal. We'll hear from the police report. And later, looking back at 5 years as the anniversary week ends. Stay tuned. Up front tonight, racial prom. A high school prom ends early after a racial slur was yelled. Now, you may remember last season we talked about prom controversy? Well, this takes the cake. This really takes the cake.
Well,
This was a Massachusetts school district investigating after racial incident forced them to end prom early. So what happened? Let's take a look.
Well, the N-word was in the song Caroline by MMA, and as I quote from Superintendent Eric Tracy's letter to parents, it says that a racial slur, even in a song, is hateful, harmful, and shameful.
There were people crying. The chaperones described as half the dance floor just went silent, and some kids had their hands over their mouth.
Hamilton, Wenham school officials and police are conducting dual investigations after the N-word was belted out as students sang on the dance floor during Friday's junior prom. What was that moment like?
Well, it was really loud, and everyone kind of stopped immediately, and it was really just shocking to hear that.
I don't think the DJ's at fault.
A clean, approved version of the song was played, but a racist word was sang anyway. The superintendent sent home a letter explaining zero tolerance for hate. The prom was cut an hour early, a controversial call.
Vulgarities of any kind should always be condemned regardless of who they're directed to. It should be fair and equitable across the board, but I think that the school's response to this was overreaching.
I don't think it's right that we all paid $80 to have the prom cut short because a lot of people dropped like $500 on prom.
There was an immediate reaction, and I think that was part of what was important about the principal saying the impact was negative to more than 1 or 2 people. It impacted the group, and it's important for us to cancel this and move on.
The school district is already having an independent group do an assessment of diversity and inclusion, and they're using this as a teaching moment. We are live in Wenham. Rondella Richardson, WCVB News.
And it's a great lesson for you guys too. If you guys going to choose a song for prom, you need to make sure it's very clean. I mean, now people just say it's their right to play whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I get it that it's your right to just play whatever you want, but those songs like 50 Cent's PIMP or Lil Sean, I Don't Blank With You, or NWA's F the Police, those are unacceptable songs. Hateful. And if I played that at prom, I would not forgive myself. And if I sang one of those, I could not forgive myself for saying a racial slur. I don't deal with racism, but this took the cake here. This is not about racism. The DJ was not at fault about this. It was whoever requested it. I mean, I would play the song, but they're gonna copyright me. Neil Diamond had the Sweet Caroline. Okay, this is from when it began, where it began, I can't begin to knowing. But then I know it's going strong. It was in the spring, and spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? Hands touching hands. Reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, good times never seemed so good. I've been inclined to believe they never would, but now I look into the night and didn't seem so lonely. We filled up with only two when I hurt, hurting runs off my shoulder. How can I hurt when holding you? One touching one, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, good times never seemed so good. Sweet Caroline, that believed never could. Sweet Caroline, good times never seemed so good. Okay. Well, what about this other one? With the N-word in it. I mean, I just read that to you, popped on house from Neil Diamond, and if Neil Diamond had the N-word involved in it, that song could totally be completely cut. And even Jay-Z had a few PIMP had a few N-words in the song. I mean, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be a racist, and I'm not a racist. I'm glad the school district did the right thing, and for students out there who say we just paid like $80 and students pay $500, this and that, it doesn't matter. What matters is you spent the money, because it's the only time. Prom is for seniors, graduation for parents. Prom is only it's like you only get to experience this once. Only once. If you're singing, you only get to experience this once. Parents can't understand it. Listen, I never went to prom, but I know what goes on at prom. I mean, last season we did the dress code controversy for the prom, and now this pops up. It's one of the few moments in the 5 years of doing this show that I am nauseous beyond belief that this would happen. But something did happen. A board member issued a trespassing notice after an unauthorized school visit. Watch.
Kendria LaFleur found out the backlash the board member is now facing. Being accused of trespassing, police issued her a notice to that effect today. Earlier tonight, reporter Kendria LaFleur found out the backlash the board member is now facing.
Lakota School Board member Darby Bodie is now accused of trespassing on school property. This comes a week after the board voted to censor her and also asked her to resign. In a letter sent to parents, Superintendent Matt Miller says she showed up unannounced to Lakota East High School and Liberty Early Childhood School, ignoring the staff's request to remain in the office until principals met her, violating safety protocols and causing disruption in learning. He says her visits alarmed both schools. Parents are divided.
Procedures in place for her to follow, and she's been asked to follow them multiple times at the meetings, and she keeps wanting to skirt that.
If she walks up in there and she wants to look at everything, let them, because we're paying her to do that. We elected her to do that, and then they're not letting her do that. And that's crazy to me.
We went to Bodie's home. She did not answer. On her Facebook page, she said her visits were part of her board member duties. She says visiting schools helps her understand the culture and learning environment. She claims critical race theory is part of the curriculum and, quote, some of it is blatant and some of it is insidiously woven into teachings. District officials have repeatedly denied this. Some parents say they see nothing wrong with what's being taught in schools.
I think there's a big difference between CRT and teaching appropriate history. like, you know, he got a lot of good lessons in, you learned last year about like the slave trade and
Harriet Tubman.
yeah.
Bodie now needs permission or an invitation for visits on district property. Without this, it's considered trespassing, which one parent says should not be the case for a board member.
They're not an average person. They're not like coming in off the street. We know who they are. We know who they are when they come there. Let them sign in and let them go walk around.
As a parent, I can't just come in and willy-nilly walk around the school. So, you know, it shouldn't be a thing for anybody to be able to do.
In a statement sent to us, Bodie says she will not resign. She also claims that she did not take pictures of any children during her visits, but instead of the signs on the walls and board. Reporting for WCPO 9 News, I'm Kendria LaFleur.
And it's a big problem. If you're being accused of trespassing and resigning, you need to resign. Don't go against the board and say you will not do it. This matter will be discussed, and we'll keep you posted on what happens. Well, when we come back, I was sick to my stomach when I heard a story about a student who attacked an assistant principal. But first, when we return, more updates and catch you guys up on what's been happening since we've last talked about this. Stay with us. Now for an update on two stories we're following since we last talked about it. Last time we spoke, we talked about Ethan, James, Jennifer Crumley, after two of them were charged with involuntary manslaughter, and Ethan now charged with all counts of murder. If convicted, all of them can spend life in prison. But frustration grows for Oxford parents wanting answers about the school shooting. Now, this was weeks ago. They met inside the school Thursday evening. Board members spent a closed session more than 3 hours with their attorneys while they met parents and waited outside the media center, potentially looking for answers. Some parents waited while others left. But the Attorney General office still opens till May 20th, which is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Friday. So we don't know what's going to happen. They asked the Board of Education promise if the district plans to accept the offer. He said he could not answer that in this setting. Next Tuesday's board meeting is one people should attend for answers. Now for CCSD. Clark County School District teachers took to the streets to make their concerns heard on the issue of rising violence at Valley Schools when 100 staff members protested Wednesday morning and demanded the district do more to stop campus violence. The start by Facebook intention spearheaded by NEA. But to update, Kendall said the other teachers were already planning on protesting before the state of Colorado due to the rise of violence, but said this attack on Thursday brought new urgency and made it happen. So we probably don't know what happens, but we'll keep you posted and updates as it goes along. And give me a break continues in just a moment. This next story made me sick. If I brought back my long hair, I'd be ripping out of my head. This made me sick. A student assaults an assistant principal. An assistant principal? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? A report of an 11-year-old boy sends assistant principal to the hospital following an argument. Now, we don't know if this was on YouTube, but if this was, I'm playing it for you guys right now. This freaking makes me sick. It ain't on YouTube, but I am going to play it to you from here.
Elementary school principal sent to the hospital after a student got violent with her. That's exactly what happened at Drayton Elementary on Tuesday. The school calling 911 after breaking up that incident between the 11-year-old fifth grader and the assistant principal. Melissa Rademacher joins us now. And Melissa, there were several details in the police report. Some parents even reached out to us concerned that they didn't hear about the incident from the school.
Yes, and I went by the school this afternoon during pickup, and some parents who wanted to stay anonymous did come up and talk to me, saying they're worried and frustrated that they didn't hear about something like this from the school itself. Here's what we know from the police report. The assistant principal says she pulled the student out of class to have him clean up a mess he made in the boys' bathroom. The student argued with her, even cursing, and eventually he hit her in the face. He kept hitting and kicking her until someone came and separated them. The student told the police officer he didn't feel bad for what he did to the assistant principal, and he claims he didn't make the mess. Police reached out to the student's mother. She told police her son has been dealing with mental health issues and has assaulted her recently. The officer noticed she did have visible bruises. Again, this is all according to the police report. The school district gave us this statement saying, quote, law enforcement was contacted immediately following the incident and the staff member was transported to the hospital. We are following district protocols to address the matter, end quote. But they did not elaborate on what those district protocols are. We also reached out to the school's parent-teacher organization for comment this afternoon, but did not hear back. In the newsroom, Melissa Rademacher, Live 5 News.
It's one of the few moments in 5 years and on the show that I feel that I'm nauseous beyond belief. Not tonight. I feel like just letting it all in, but tomorrow, that's my thing. But I'm going to read to you what happened. The police department responded to an assault that happened around 3:11 p.m. on Tuesday. At the scene, the assistant principal of the school told the officer she pulled an 11-year-old student out of the class to clean up a mess he made in the boys' bathroom. Now, into an argument, the student turned around and cursed at her, saying, blank you, and struck her in the face. The incident report read. The witness said she started to kick and punch her torso while she was attempting to stop. Eventually, the two parties were separated and the student was brought to the office. Investigators say they saw red markings across the arm of the victim where she was struck. She was taken to the hospital following the incident for evaluation. The police asked the student if she felt the assistant principal deserved it. The student reportedly said she did and that she did not feel bad about it. Law enforcement was contacted immediately to find and staff members transported to the hospital. We will find just protocols to the mass, but the statement said, and the police said they worked with the victim to find out whether any charges will be made. No arrests have been made, and made because of the student's age. Another staff member told the school that she'd been assaulted by the same student recently. Bruising was seen on the staff member's arms in the alleged incident, the report stated. I am sick to my stomach that I would hear something like this and it ends up in my face. And this ends up in my face. In my face. This ends in my face. And this is what I told the reporter. This is what I said to her. In part, let's play right now. I'm going to tell you something right now. If I made a mess and the assistant told me to clean it up, I'm not saying I didn't make that mess. I'm not assaulting or using foul language. I will pick up that damn mop and clean up that damn mess. I don't think you feel my rage. But if I was in this kid's shoes, I would do what I would do what I told Melissa. I clean it up. And this freaking makes me sick to my stomach, knowing that something like this would happen. Makes me sick talking about it. It really does make me sick. You've been on I've been doing this a long time, and there's just certain things I will talk about, and there's certain things that make me sick to my stomach, and there's things I won't talk about. And this is one of those times where it makes me sick. Violence has gone up to CCSD. And I'm freaking angry beyond this point, because if that happened, if I heard something like this happen in the Bluff, I would want to take action and say, don't do this again, because it's not good. You want to sit up here and say, oh, I'll never do it again. It won't happen again. There is no, I will never do it again. No, it won't happen. Because when you say, it won't happen again, I won't do it again, you obviously going to know it's going to happen again. None unless you take your shit very, very seriously. If you don't take it serious enough, you ought not to be going to school. If you're not going to take your job seriously, you might as well not work at all. I take this show very seriously. I take every issue. I take what was done very seriously. I don't play theatrics. I take this crap very, very seriously. I take to what was done very seriously. I take to what was been talking about very seriously. I don't want no one cheapening this. I don't want anyone playing theatrics or cheapening. If you're making gestures and saying like it never happened, this and that and the other, take the case Leticia. This happened at Whataburger back in August, and this was reported back in October. This was where she was at Whataburger in Washington. This happened in Flower Bluff years ago, and I can take you back there. This happened at Whataburger. I mean, it was all over a fight. She had the camera. And the police officer asked for the ID. He said, I still need to know what I'm being charged for. And he was like, he's been charged for using the ID. It's one I'll never forget it. I watched it several times, and the law says that only if they're being charged with them, you can ask for ID. They got it all wrong. And Bill Churchwell is saying you're required to tell police who you are. It's not Texas law. And then she got arrested, and she was released. I'm sick to my stomach. I feel like puking right now. But violence is, school violence is something I will not tolerate.
Well,
Oops. This is something, like, really, I don't want to hear this kind of crap happening in my school, in my town. And even if it did happen, I'm not even going to freaking talk about it. But still, there was finger pointing going on. But there are school violence reports happening. And we'll look at those when we return. We were gonna do that, but we're gonna do that thing about the school violence reports, but that's not happening. There's been more bullying going on. More bullying. The Mission Hill K-8 school is best private school within the Boston School District. Closure in the mark 20 year. After allegations of bullying, the Boston's Mission School will close this summer. These allegations of bullying. But a child was beaten with a belt by another student's mother at a city school. My son was being bullied and defending himself, but then the mom came. She was hitting him and whooping him with a belt. The incident between two children bullets in the mother. Surveillance video shows a woman in pink marching to Florida State School Thursday, attacking a child for leaving the school. It looks like a belt in her hand. It all happened on Bethel 7th Day. The Florida State Police Department is investigating the incident. Detectives know who the parent is. NBC6 called listed phone numbers for the parent, but is unable to make contact with her. Then there was another bullying from B-Bay School District. Parents that was a kid with autism being bullied at school. A mother called on parents to join the fight against bullying in Palmer Groves across Arkansas. According to content partner, the mother said that her 9th grader is being bullied in the district. Hurts when you cry with them, she said. The mother wished, and I mean, on respect to her son, told Clark that when she attended Bay High School in the 90s, it was a safe place. Clark, which had baby schools, people said they take bullying seriously and encourage parents to support any incident. But and this person came in seriously doing the bullying. I mean, come on. I take this bullying very seriously. You guys just can't even freaking learn how to. I take this bullying business very seriously, and that's another thing to look back on. I know a lot about bullying. I'll never forget when I talked with Eric. 5 years. We had one guest on for 5 years. Now it's a guy named Eric who had to stop bullying CCISD. And personally, I wanted to thank him to come on because of what has happened. Nobody mom claims son committed suicide due to bullying, but the superintendent speaks following the claims. Jesse came out and but these incidents happened where bullying in 2018, 2019, there was no bullying in 2017, 2018. No bullying in 2018, 2019. Before COVID, sexual offenses 5, 30 was fine, 25, 7. Makes me sick to my stomach that people were talking about bullying. And but in a cesspool, students want adults to do more about racist bullying. Over the past month, this issue got tons of attention from the community again, and the students' code has not changed. But bullying has been a problem. And I'll never forget the story I talked about in 2020, years ago. I didn't even want to show it to you because it was horrific, but school didn't even do anything. And there were concerns, and we'll talk about it as it goes along. But tomorrow on the broadcast, my outrageous response to what happened. I don't think you know my rage, but I feel very angry. And that's the end of the anniversary week. Thank you, Rather Than Fob Love, for 5 great years of me talking to you. You guys have always been there behind my back, even when I'm playing guitar. It's been a great 5 years. Let's go for another 5. Over 300 episodes. We come into your homes, especially out there on YouTube. Thank you out there. You guys are behind me 100%. I really thank you. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday. For all of us here at YouTube, Give Me a Break. Good night.